Okay, this is going to be a pretty lengthy video on how to set up the Ovation machine. So first we're going to turn the power on, then turn the air on. You'll notice devices are now spooling up. It's in a boot. Takes quite a few seconds for it to come completely online. And then we're going to go to the front here. And then we're going to double click this icon. And this is going to bring up the main software. This software takes approximately a minute to come fully online. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording and come back when it's on. Okay, so it took approximately a minute for the screen to populate with this image. If you notice in the top here, it says master control relay has been lost. That only means the machine hasn't actually been turned on yet. That stands for MCR. Master control relay. So to turn the power on, there's a little green button right here, and that brings that away. Now it does say drive power is not on. It's a little misleading. That comes up a lot. You can turn the drive power on here or by pressing the green button. You may be able to hear that. So basically the machine is now ready to run. If you're starting up the machine for the first time in the morning, or if it's been sitting for a couple hours and it's kind of cold out, you want to do a spindle warm-up, and that's what this button right here is for. You can press the touchscreen or you can press R1. So this process takes about 5 minutes, and what it's doing is warming up the high-speed spindles. It's making sure the bearings have the right clearances. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here and wait until that's done. Okay, so the spindle warm-up is completed. This will be obvious because the spindles will no longer be making any noise. Once that happens, you're done for the day as far as having to warm up the spindles. It shouldn't have to be done again unless the machine is left for a couple hours and it's really cold. So the next thing you want to do is select the type of door you want to run. You can do that two ways. You can click on these little buttons on the side, or you can look at the image, select what you want, and then go back to the current setup. That's this button down here, which is F3. Change your door orientation, change your hinge size. I think the rest of it's pretty much self-explanatory. Over on here you have ADP mode. ADP is automatic door positioning. This will allow you to put in this case, a 6/8 door. You would press ADP, this button here, and it would position the door for you. And we will go over that. But while we're talking about the screen setups, and we're still on this screen, if you have the unit off and you press this selector here, it'll pop the stop up for you so you can run the door manually up against it. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm talking about here. So down here is where the door stop would come up. Off camera, I'm going to press the button which made the stop come up, and then this is the button that I'm pressing. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to change the hinge location. So down here is hinge pattern. It's also OP9. This brings up the different types of doors. You can go from 7 foot, 8 foot. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. This is a 8 foot right hand. Again, the top hinge is all the way to the left, comes off of router 1. Just touch the screen. I'm going to change it to 4 3/4, which is the number I was given for you guys. It also has, well, actually on your 8-foot, I'm sorry, it's a 6.5 for the 8-foot door. Then this one comes out to, you asked for 26 inches between the two, so that's 32.5. Whoops. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to change the depth of the route, if you notice here the Z is at 0, that means it's at negative. That means it's not going to cut. It's negative 1/8 inch. This one over here, number 4, is 0.1, so that would be 100 thousandths deep. And obviously if you wanted to change that, we'll go negative 0.12. So that would now not cut. So if you ever were doing, let's say, a 6/8 door and you didn't want to run the center hinge, you just turn it to negative 1/8 and make these whatever depth you want. So I'm going to go back to current screen. Now I want to change my lock bore position. That's a little confusing. So I was doing an 8-foot here. That's what I modified. Let me go back to a 6/8. So that's a 6/8. Those are the hinge patterns we were working with for you guys for some of your different stuff. So we're going to change this to 4.75. Enter. And then I'll go back to the current screen, since we're talking about a 6/8 door, which is actually going to be your 70 3/4 or your 72 inch or your 75 inch or your 78 inch or your 79 inch. Your 83 inch, I would probably do that as an 8-foot door, but it really doesn't matter. The machine doesn't really care. It'll run three hinges on all of those. Once you go to an 8-foot, which is your 95 inch, is when you're going to want to go to an 8-footer. So we're going to change the lock bore position. You can do all of those independently here as needed. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Just dial it in just like you did on the hinge pattern. And yeah, so take a quick pause here. So I'm going to demonstrate how to run a door now. We're going to do a 95-inch door, your largest door, your tallest door. It's going to be 8-foot right hand, 4-inch hinge, 5/8 radius. You can see the lock bore dimension there of 58. I guess you want your deadbolt to be at 52, so I'll show you how to change that. So just go here to 8-foot deadbolt, right hand, 52.5. And I'll change the other hand while I'm here. Okay. Then we're going to go back to current setup. So it refreshed itself. So that's our lock bore, our deadbolt. ADP is on. You can turn on whatever you wanted here. We'll turn on the lock bore. We'll turn on the latch drill. We're not going to do deadbolt on this. So yeah, so we're going to press ADP start. Position the door up against the stop. If it was a left-hand door, it would be on the other end. Now I'm going to press the jam stop button that tilted in this stop, which allowed me to push the door up against it. And at this point, you'll notice the green light is flashing. And what that means is it's ready to clamp up. So once I hit clamp, the routers, if they weren't in the position, they would go ahead and position themselves. So if it went from a left hand to a right hand, you would see a change. But since the last door I did was a right hand, there won't be a change. So I'm going to press the clamp button. I'm going to put this down. Press the clamp button. The strike drill just went in. That's the lock bore you hear in the back. The router bar is positioned. Now routing. That's still the lock bore. So that was it, completing the door. Now, what I want to show is, since the largest door you're doing is a 95 and the smallest door you're doing is a 70, that's a pretty big differential, something we usually don't do. So it's going to require a small mechanical change. So as you saw a second ago, how the machine positioned the door up against the right stop. It did that by pushing the door via that device. Now, seeing that this door is so long, that stop is currently where you see it. So I'm going to go ahead and unclamp this. Unclamp button is right here. I'm going to go back over here. Now, if this door, the next door I'm going to run is going to be the 70-inch. I have to move this to here. So I'm going to do that and then show you the machine running the 70-inch door. So if you see, I've now moved the stop pusher, back into its position for a shorter door. And you may have to try different positions depending on what slab you're running. So I'm going to leave this playing here and do a 70-inch door ADP, right hand. Okay, so you can see now the 70-inch door is now positioned against the stop. A little different procedure because it's so short. So the unit is positioned, and now we're going to run it. You'll see the routers move accordingly because of the new hinge pattern, and run the door. Okay, that's the 70-inch door, right hand. Now we're going to run a 70-inch door, left hand. If you notice, the arm pushes the door in. Once the arm gets past, another comes up from the bottom, similar to what you saw on the other side, pushing it the rest of the way. So it's ready to clamp. The routers position themselves. Okay, this is something I usually don't show on a video, but it is conceivable when this machine arrives and you're not getting an install. It's possible you may have to recalibrate one or more of the cuts. So I'm going to go through those steps. This may happen due to shipping, or it may happen because your product's somehow different than what we're running. But anyway, you're going to go to maintenance. Then you're going to go to reference. Now when I click this, it's going to ask me to log in. The user's OEM. The password is 100. Now, of course, you have to have a keyboard, so use a USB keyboard. So now I'm logged in. Pretty straightforward. The instructions are here. So, for an example, your X1, and they're labeled. Your X1 is your number one router, left to right. So let's say you were trying to run a 5-inch hinge location, and instead you were getting a 5.5-inch hinge location. When I select this guy and then I turn this on, what it's going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and do this because it's only 8 thousandths off, and I say set position, it set it to 14 inches. So it's going to set it to whatever number is over here. Now it was at 14 and I reset it at 14 within 8 thousandths. So if you were cutting a 5.5 and you wanted a 5, you would jog your axis to 13.5 and then tell it you're at 14, and that would put it at the right location.